Texas School District is going to have to go over budget to complete its bond improvements. Mineola ISD voters approved a bond for just under $30 million last May to construct a new primary school, turn the elementary school to Career and Technology Education Center, and other upgrades across campus. KLTV7's Lexi Vanetti reports the district says the newly added cost does not impact taxpayers.
Mineola ISD is one step closer to campus upgrades.
So these are the architectural designs of our new primary campus.
Superintendent Cody Mize shares the plans of
the first new school in Mineola ISD in 40 years.
In May, voters approved a just under $30 million bond for Mineola to build the new primary school, turn the elementary school to Career and Technology Education Center, and other upgrades across campus, including new canopies.
With growth in the district and then just aging facilities, it was time to address some of those needs.
The district projected $20 million to build a 66,000 square foot primary school.
As we worked with our architect and we really developed the campus needs that we had, we formally approved a 77,000 square foot building at a cost of about $28.5 million.
Along with the additional space, the district is facing
increase in prices, inflation, the availability of materials. Those are things that when you're planning for your bond, there's some of those things that is not under your control at all, but we have to deal with those things.
Mize says now the cost to build the primary school is $8 million over the estimated cost.